You are listening to Fantha tracks.
Rebel forces, you again have been thwarted by the Empire. We have a tractor beam targeted on your vessel. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to escape. Make sure your navigation coordinates are turned off and you're tuned directly into the Fantha from Down Under. You're tuned in to Fantha Tracks Radio.
This is the Fantha from Down Under.
G'day, mate, how you going?
Star Wars news in a single file.
Coming to you live from Quinlan's Cantina in the Gold Coast of Australia, this is your slice of Australian Star Wars news.
Hosted by the mullet himself, Adam O'Brien.
Alrighty, mate, let's get into it. G'day, folks. How you going? This is Adam O'Brien, the Fantha from Down Under, coming to you live from Quinlan's Cantina in the Gold Coast of Australia, here to chat some Star Wars for Fantha Tracks Radio. And we're in a bit of a quiet period, obviously, now with COVID-19 and a lot of the lockdown laws that are happening in each country that we're in, at different phases, of course. But the biggest thing about that is that we are getting a chance to dive into some of our great pop culture that we love, Star Wars, of course, and all the great books, movies, toys, RPGs, miniatures, Lego, you name it, Hasbro. It's all there, isn't it, folks? And it is a great time to be getting into it. Tonight on the show, I have a dear friend of ours and a dear friend of yours from Australia, from Brisbane, in the lovely northern city of Caboolture. We have the Harris from the Harris Palace. That is, of course, Adam Harris, dear pal of the show, dear pal also of all Star Wars fans out there. And of course, he is known as the director of the documentary My Saga, which came out a couple of years ago now. And it was a great documentary about his life and, of course, about his love of Star Wars. It was about him and his son going to Star Wars Celebration and, of course, all the Star Wars drama there is in and around that. And, of course, all the fun there is to have when it comes to Star Wars Celebration. He's also the host and operator of course, My Saga, the podcast, along with Blair Hiscock. And it's a great, again, show from Australia, just like this one. And it goes all the way through all the loves that they have, of course, of Star Wars and more. And he's going to be joining us a little bit later in the show, chat about his goings on, what's been going on, his neck of the woods when it comes to Star Wars, and of course what he's been collecting, what he's been watching. And we haven't had a chance to catch up with him since, of course, the last film was released, which is, of course, The Rise of Skywalker. So we'll be chatting about that. Also, we're going to be looking at just what there is to when it comes to legends that he likes. Because, of course, right now, as it's gone into a bit of a quiet period, we're really doing a bit of a love of the legends. That's right. We're going to be looking at the old expanded universe of Star Wars and what made it so amazing. And there's a lot to love about it out there, folks, you know. Some people like some of it and not others, and vice versa. To be honest, I love all of it. I've always collected the books that I've always got into it, the comics, everything. And so we'll be looking at that tonight with Adam Harris. But here's how you can contact us here at Fantha Tracks, the Fantha from Down Under. You can catch Fantha Tracks at fanthatracks.com, where you'll find all your Star Wars news in a single file, from everything from reviews to news, and of course lots of multimedia all about Star Wars, all there. You can catch me, the host here, at the Fantha from Down Under on at the Lethal Mullet, on that handle on both Twitter, Instagram, and of course Facebook. Go and join the Facebook page there, where we chat everything from Star Wars to also all the action movies you can handle on Lethal Mullet Podcast. It is time here now for the news here on the Fantha from Down Under. Alright, time to chat a little bit of the news that's going on in, of course, Star Wars right now. Lots of delays when it comes to releases, and a lot of that's going to be, of course, now that we've got a bit of a release guide from all of the Disney product when it comes to, of course, Marvel and, of course, all the Disney films and Star Wars. Star Wars is pretty much on par. We're pretty much guaranteed it's going to hit roughly where it's going to hit. Of course, we've got new films coming out in 2022. And further than that, we've also got, obviously, the Kenobi series is now delayed till 2022, which I kind of think it was going to hit that anyway, really, wasn't it? But you've also got, of course, the new Rogue One prequel series, and of course, it's all about Cassian Andor. And that is still looking likely it's going to hit its release date. So it's interesting that we may still get a lot of those too. Who knows what's going to happen with, obviously, everything up in the air. COVID itself, unfortunately, with a lot of the things that going around that when it comes to the government's putting, obviously, freezers in place for a lot of the different places we can't go to right now, just for our own safety. We have to keep that. That is paramount, obviously. Entertainment, always going to be secondary. So, at this stage, it looks like most will still hit where they need to, obviously, when it comes to the release guide and stuff like that. But always in motion is the future, like the Force. So who knows what's going to happen. But all I know is you're going to get Star Wars out there, and it'll come when it comes. And, I always say this, don't rush product. We're not releasing a release date. We're releasing movies. We're releasing TV shows. When we look at those sorts of things, those are the sorts of things you want to look at when it comes to, that you want to look at the quality product. And that's what we want, don't we, folks? We want quality out there that's going to come out and something that we can enjoy, obviously, for years to come. Again, that's what we do. We're enjoying our fandom when it comes to all of this sort of stuff. And that's what we've got to look at too. So I hope you're all safe out there, and of course, enjoying fandom at home. So stay at home, folks, and let's ride this out and enjoy some Star Wars while you do it. Why not do it in style?
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, Star Wars fan, Fantha Tracks fan.
And make sure you're staying safe. That's the main thing out there. Stay safe, folks, and of course, be here for more Star Wars. Here comes Harris from the Harris Palace and my saga. All right, folks, welcome back to the Fantha from Down Under. Now into our lounge segment here. That's right. Kicking back, listening to some country music here on the network. No. We're listening to something else. Of course, you're listening to us, the Fantha from Down Under, and of course, the Harris from the Harris Palace. He's here. Mate, Adam, how are you?
Good, mate. Good to be on the Fantha from Down Under. Yeah, man. It's great to be on. It's been a while, so hope all the listeners are safe and well.
Yeah, that's it. We only just mentioned this in the news segment, but, look, keep safe out there, folks. Follow the directives, obviously, of your governments and of your health advisors, your doctors, whatever it is. At the end of the day, chill back, relax, and put your mind into some fandom. Just literally chill back.
That's it. That's all you do. Just, there's a lot of good stuff out there. This is the time to binge watch stuff and catch up on old school movies and things that you might not have done, or whip out a Lego set or some models or something and just kick back, relax, have a few cheeky beverages and get on with living a bit. That's it. I mean, look, we're here to enjoy life. That's what we've got to do, and enjoy Star Wars, of course. Which, of course, now, obviously, there's been a movie come out that has come out in the last few months. Just a little movie. And it's. Movie?
I'm pretty sure it's a movie. It came out. It's got a 9 in it, in the volume.
Oh, really?
I think so. And I think this movie might just be the end of a saga. Maybe. What do you reckon?
Well, I've got a few views on. No, we're talking about Rise of Skywalker. So, but look, I've got a few views on Rise of Skywalker. Like I've been a supporter, I would say. I've enjoyed The Force Awakens, and I was a little hesitant with The Last Jedi, but after a few viewings, I enjoyed it more. But Rise of Skywalker is something else. It's, to me, and for the people who love it and enjoy it, completely understand, and you're looking at the bigger picture and going, oh, it was wonderful, and I've seen some people rate it as their second best, or if not their best Star Wars film, but when you're looking at the 9 films as a whole, the last 3 have no real story connection to 1 to 6. And this is how I'll explain it. Is episodes 1 to 6 are the rise, the fall, and the redemption and return of the Skywalker family, in a sense. You see Anakin being discovered. You see his rise to become a Jedi. You see his fall as a Jedi. You then see his children, or one of his children, Luke, seeking, I guess, vengeance against the man he believes he killed his father, who ends up being his dad. And then a reuniting of Luke and Leia, the children, the Skywalker twins. And then finally the redemption of Anakin, and everything's at peace. Now, with this new series of films, and, you know, everyone, when The Force Awakens came out, was like, oh, Rey, she's got to be a Skywalker, or she's got to be related to someone. There was the talk of her being a Kenobi and possibly a Skywalker together. Then I remember when The Last Jedi came out, there was that rumor that Rey was a Palpatine, and she was the daughter of a stormtrooper who was Palpatine's son, around the time of The Last Jedi. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, you know, and I never gave any thought of it. And then, of course, in this last film, it was sort of all thrown together. And when you look at these three films, they have no real bearing on what has passed in those 6 films. You have a beginning, middle, and end with those 6 films. With these, you do have a beginning, middle, and end. But our protagonist is technically a Palpatine, not a Skywalker. And yes, I can see that the whole thing in modern society of being able to choose your name above bloodline is one thing. But when you look at it in black and white, it is a person who has chosen to let go of her family and take the name of the people she's known for 12 months because she feels that she's more connected to them, and that was her family. But then we're also forgetting Lorne Santeca's line to Kylo in The Force Awakens. You cannot deny the truth. That is your family. And obviously that line is thrown out the window when we come to this film, because if Rey was to accept and not be afraid of who she was, she would have kept her name Palpatine and been proud that she was able to give hope and light and freedom to that name, as opposed to burying it. But you know, I would have preferred Rey. If Rey had to been a nobody by the end of it and she adopted the name, I'd find it more believable. But the fact that she didn't, and she chose to ignore it, and then I look back at what was said in the Force Awakens, it seems a touch hypocritical of the character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, look, it shows too that these 3 films didn't have a plan, and I know Chris Terrio has come out recently in an interview and said there was really no plan. And this is once again why 1 to 6 work so well, whether you like the prequels or not, is that George had written an outline of the 9 stories, right? And Disney threw the other 3 in the bin and disregarded it, and we got 3 films that had no thought in the sense of a plan of where the story was heading. You know, we had one filmmaker who had an idea. We then had Ryan, who had no real input with JJ. And then, of course, we had Colin Trevorrow, who I have to admit, after reading Duel of the Fates and seeing the artwork, I feel that that was closer to a George Lucas Star Wars film than any of the other 2. And when you're looking at the script, and, you know, we're going back to Coruscant, we're seeing Morbius, this is stuff that Dave Filoni and George would have been talking about for ages. So I'm looking at Collins and going, this is a George Lucas Star Wars film, where I see this and go, this is a very studio, we've got to give, you know, they didn't like this, people wanted the Raylo kiss. The fact that the book has had to explain so much story, this should have either been a film that was split into 2 parts, or there's parts in the film where there's exposition given where there wasn't any needed, and so forth. But look, at the end of the day, yeah, I like the film. It's action-packed, it's paced, and it's all that sort of stuff. Do I see 7, 8, and 9 as a part of the Skywalker saga? No. I see it as a legacy to the Skywalker saga. It's there, yes, it's got the 9 in it, but to me, I'll enjoy the films. I own the films. I'm not going to throw them in the bin. I'm not going to be that person who buys them, not buy them. I've got them all. But when you look at 1 to 6, you've got that perfect Skywalker saga arc, and that's where it should stay. We've killed the bloodline out. If you want to look at it really in a weird way, you could say that Disney killed the Skywalker bloodline, so they had no ties to George. If you wanted to be...
Hey, mate, how you doing? Yeah, you alright? Yeah, guess what? You're listening to Fantha Tracks Radio, alright? Let's get in there, yeah? Let's do it. Isn't it? Good.
So, Adam, you're telling us just, you know, what is the ultimate thing here now? You got 6 movies of Skywalker, a legacy series. That's pretty much what it is. It's the legacy to the families, isn't it?
It is. Look, I think, we're looking at the characters of Han, Luke, Leia, and to a lesser extent, I guess, the droids, Chewie and Lando. So it is a legacy thing. It is, I think Poe says it actually best. It's what our mothers and fathers fought for, and we have to continue it on. And, it's really hard. Like, I just think this last film, they really did just cut and paste it together. And I can see how people who didn't enjoy The Last Jedi enjoyed this film, or they hated it even more. And like I said, I can see how there are people out there who really enjoy this and Rey's arc, in the sense of she becomes the all-powerful Jedi in the end, and, with Ben sacrificing himself to let her live. And that was one thing that annoyed me about this trilogy was Ben Solo. Adam Driver is the shining light in this trilogy. And I am a huge Rey fan. But his performance was just perfection. And when we finally got to see Ben Solo for the span of 30 seconds, I was like, man, I wish I had seen a bit more of this and his conflict. And that's where, yes, the protagonist in this film, becomes a Skywalker in the end by adopting the name. For it to really be about the Skywalker saga, you need a Skywalker in a position of being the main protagonist or the main villain. And I was talking to Blair last night on the My Saga podcast, and I was saying the problem with this trilogy was there were too many villains to look at. Yes, in A New Hope, we had the Emperor mentioned. By the time of Empire Strikes Back, the Emperor was there as a hologram. We had the bounty hunters. The Imperial officers were very background characters, where in these films, the officers were semi-minor major characters like Hux and Phasma. Mm-hmm. Well, Phasma was built, but Phasma wasn't in it much. And then we had Phasma again, and then we had Snoke, and then... And the thing is, too, when you're looking at that arc that Snoke is Palpatine or Palpatine is Snoke, is that when we got to The Last Jedi and he's sensing and hanging Rey in midair, and then he's like, oh, we're going to kill her, I'm going to let Kylo kill her, once again contradicts everything that happens at the end. It's like, oh, I didn't really want to kill you, but I want to possess you. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And, things like Palpatine being a clone and... there's that throwaway line from Dominic Monaghan's character going, oh, cloning, secrets of the Sith. That's not a way to explain why Palpatine's back. It was very rushed. But it's legacy. It's just a little nod of, these were the people from the old war and the old stories, and Vader's mentioned and Anakin's falls sort of mentioned. But there was really nothing about mythology in this trilogy. I think Rian Johnson actually was the closest person to touch on mythology and the Force, and that's why I have grown to like The Last Jedi more out of any of the three films. After the first few viewings, I was like the mob out there wanting to lynch him. Now I'm that person going, well, actually, Rian was the closest one to nail the mythology, the spirit of Star Wars, and Luke's arc. I loved Luke's arc, and I thought it was really great how it worked out.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
This is a legacy trilogy. It doesn't connect when you put it next to the other things, because it is really, we're just killing off the Skywalkers by the end of it and then letting someone else adopt the name. But then, as Leia said, you should be proud of who you are. And Lord Santeca said in The Force Awakens, you cannot deny the truth that is your family, which she will always be by blood, a Palpatine, even though she's adopted the Skywalker name. So I just feel like it was just a way of cutting ties at the end.
It's a little bit like Kylo Ren says, kill it if you have to make it stronger.
Yeah, kill the past if you have to. But I think, Kylo as a character was a touch wasted. He should have had equal footing with Rey, I guess. And his conflict, and that's the big thing I was looking forward to with Luke at the end of The Last Jedi saying, I'll always be with you like your father. And we had, you could say, Force Ghost Han or a memory appear, but we didn't have Luke tormenting Kylo like I was expecting, but in Colin Trevorrow's script, we did. And that's where, once again, Trevorrow was keeping everything moving forward that Ryan had done. And, of course, Rose Tico, it just seems like they ticked every box of, like, well, they didn't really like Rose, and they want Rey and Kylo to kiss, and they want Rey to be the powerful Jedi. Let's give her that. And, Leia's this. I honestly think, writing your script around a person who's passed away was a very big mistake.
It's also movie by committee. This is, it's something that even Leia said. I'm not a committee, and these movies are not a committee. And this is the largest problem with these franchise films. When you move into something as large as a conglomerate like obviously Disney is that there's so many department heads, there's so many voices, and don't get me wrong, that's a great way, creative, obviously film. Yourself being a director, being in that creative space is fantastic, and it is brilliant. But somebody needs to have the bottom line and just go, no. Sometimes you can't just go, yep. And unfortunately, that's, as Chris Terrio has said in a lot of the interviews, he's had to rewrite this script a number of different times, right through the process. And it's evident in this film. I mean, look, it's evident somewhat in the others. I think Last Jedi is the only one that wasn't so much that way. But I think the superior film out of all of these is Rogue One. What it says, without Jedi, without everything, it's about rebellion. It also doesn't just play to the old fans. This is a film that takes literally the crawl from A New Hope and turns it into a movie. And it does it in such a way, it shows you heroism with sacrifice, which is the center point to Star Wars. And to be honest, folks, I'm going to say it here, and I've said it a number of times, it blows that trilogy out of the freaking water. There you go.
It certainly does. Look, Rogue One is definitely my favourite of the new Disney-era films. And yes, it was once again a film that was played with reshoots and a bit of rewriting at the end. But when you have someone like Tony Gilroy come in and redo the ending to Rogue One and you see the result you got, it's probably, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, it is probably the best bit of Star Wars, that bottom third of the last third of the film that we've had in probably 20 plus years. Like, I enjoyed the prequels, but that bottom third blows them out of the water. It's so action paced, it's emotional, it's great writing, it's great acting. We're talking original trilogy levels here. They nearly recaptured the lightning in a bottle with that film.
Oh yeah.
So this is where, once again, like Tony Gilroy has said, he wasn't really a fan of Star Wars, but the thing is, he knows story, he knows what needs to happen. He's a great writer, and he proved it with helping Gareth Edwards finish that film. But this is the thing too. I think Disney have Lucasfilm, I should say, have jumped the gun with a lot of directors. They announced Josh Trank doing a Boba Fett spin-off. Once again, if they given it a year after they bought Lucasfilm, Disney, and gone, okay, let's map out this trilogy. We'll have one director do all three. We'll get a core group of, say, 4 writers, including the director, and we'll map out a trilogy properly. And I think if they had done that, we'd be having a different conversation right now. And doing it the way they did was the big mistake. They had the treatment from Lucas, whether they were panicked about the prequels, going, the prequels weren't really well received, they still made a lot of money. And the merchandise made a ton of money. And when we look at this trilogy, yes, it's made more money than the other Star Wars films. Merchandise is dead. Like
dead market. Dead market.
It's not the top number one toy seller for a movie franchise anymore. Yes, you've got Marvel, which is a powerhouse, and DC and all that. But Star Wars is not what it is. And some of the toys that came out were pretty shocking. The merch was terrible.
Distribution non-existent. I mean, Hasbro, what the hell are you doing?
It's not like even after Star Wars had finished in the theaters, there was still a consistent rollout of toys that collectors were still buying. The death of the 3.75 inch line before this film was the first Star Wars film that has never had that line apart from the vintage collection figures, which is a sad day when you've got a toy company killing that line before a major film. And there was nothing out. There was really nothing out. Like, I remember going to there was no books out because they delayed all the books, which once again was a touch confusing because I understand they didn't want it to leak. But the books are now coming out now, 3 months later. and they're half done in the sense of there's nothing about Palpatine, there's nothing about the fleet. I was like, well, if you've delayed these books for 3 months, why the heck didn't you put all this stuff in? You know, and Palpatine being in the film is not a big secret because when they dropped the trailer at Celebration, they brought Ian McDiarmid out on the stage.
Roll it again, roll it again, roll it again, roll it again, roll it again,
and roll it again. So it wasn't like a secret. We all knew he was there and he was going to be in it. You know, and they come out and said yes, having the Emperor back in the film, and then we had contradicting stories coming out that the Emperor was planned from the beginning, and then you have Ian coming out going, no, it wasn't planned. I just got a call saying we're thinking about bringing him back. So,
but now let's go back, folks. Back to I think it was 2012, maybe even earlier, 2011, where I remember. Where this news came from, I cannot remember, so respect to whoever came up with it. But there was news out that George Lucas had dinner with, or had a lunch, I think it was, with Carrie Fisher, with Mark Hamill, and that was kept quiet. So he knew there was something, maybe it was part of George's original vision, and it's something that they've come back to, because I think, from what I've been told, out of that bit of news from way back, the rumor was that he was definitely in dinner or in lunch with those guys talking about, hey, look, we're looking at doing a new trilogy. We're looking at bringing some of you guys back. And I'm sure George went, and I think that happened. And he goes, yes, roll it again. You know? But look, folks, I totally understand where Adam's coming from tonight. There's, you know, let's face it, I think the biggest problem with it, looking back at each of these films, good in their own right. A little bit too much going on. This whole generation of films, it's not just Star Wars, it's everything. Marvel, the Nolan films are a very good example of too much information at once. The new generation, yes, they access information a hell of a lot faster than we did in ours, you know, due to obviously the smartphone generation, IMAX, all that sort of stuff. But I think there's something simplistic's probably the word, about the early trilogy when it came to the way the stories are delivered, the characterization, and, you know, just it was just enough information. Right? Now, I'm just talking about just the details, not who and what, when, why. And I think that's the same with the Indiana Jones films, the James Bond films, any of those adventure, big productions that went out there, you know, and I think up until probably Lord of the Rings is the last series of films that you see, he gave it time. Peter Jackson, he gave it 3 hours or whatever it needed. And you don't feel rushed. These films, it's all about making tickets, you know, getting those tickets. You know, they want excess amount of tickets per day. So they want it like 2 hours 20, 2 hours 30, 2 hours 45 max. And that's just business, you know, like they want to do that. But unfortunately, part of that is you watch Batman Begins, The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. The way Nolan, in particular, he's probably the best at these because he tries to give it time. But what he does is if he's going to show you something new, he'll show you in a very smart bit of dialogue or something. Hey, this is a little bat gadget. Well, hey, this is a little bit of a vehicle. Hey, look, it's a tumbler. And then, boom, the next thing you know, you're meant to be a master of this thing, and then out it goes.
Yeah.
Tim Burton didn't need to do that. You knew straight away. George Lucas didn't need to do that because visually the design was there. But they were dumbing down the audience with a lot of what they were doing that way. If you cut all that out, people still know it's a car, or that it's a harpoon gun, or that it's a lightsaber.
Hello, this is Sam Whitwer, and you are listening to Fantha Tracks.
To me, I could trim probably about, who knows, out of these movies, probably 25 minutes, and you still have exactly what you need in there. And I think that's the problem, folks, is that we've got too much we're trying to put in there in plot. We're trying to put so many characters in there, and you can still have those characters there. That's not the problem. I think we need to trim the fat.
Yeah, look, there are some films out there I think that have been quite successful in having a lot of things going on, and the last two Avengers films definitely tick those boxes. Like, you know, Endgame is 3 hours long. Now, it's the highest grossing film of all time, so not an issue with people going to see it. and I can't see why they didn't take a leaf out of Marvel's book
Or
with Rise of Skywalker.
Or Mr. Miller's book.
Or Mr. Miller's book, yes. With yes. But that's the thing, you can successfully do it. And there was so much going on in Endgame. And once again, that's a film that'll in time people either love or hate. But it also carried the emotional weight really well throughout, I felt anyway.
Yeah.
Like a film like Avatar, to me, has not aged well. And the story hasn't aged well. And I tried to sit through it the other day, and I couldn't. I'm like, how has this film been the highest-grossing film for so long? How did it do it? And it was the 3D technology. It was something new. It engaged the audience. Marvel people have grown up with.
And Smurfs on steroids.
Yeah, Smurfs on steroids. And we're going to get another 20 zillion of those now. And I'm sure Disney are rubbing their hands together. But yeah, look, with these films, look, I do not hate them. I don't want anyone to think that I hate them or anything like that. I am frustrated, but I like them. I love them. They're Star Wars. I love Rey. I think she is a terrific character. I love Kylo. Finn, I think, was wasted as a character. He's just there to yell and scream and a little bit of comic relief. And that's the thing. There are characters there like Poe and Finn, I think, that were really wasted. As characters, they built them up, and The Force Awakens really did nothing for them in The Last Jedi. And then Rise of Skywalker, they were just rolling through the motions. Poe was that guy who had to give the inspirational, cheesy speech, which I got chills with that. I was like, really? This is something I've seen in every superhero film lately, you know, the cheesy speech, we've got to go to war.
Give him 9 months, mate, and he'll be doing some speeches on Arrakis, and they're going to be groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah, see, I can't wait for that. June's going to be amazing. And I think when Villeneuve's film comes out, people are going to go, oh, hang on, is this how sci-fi is really meant to be? Because I know Villeneuve is going to do an amazing job with that. You know, we've been waiting for like, nothing wrong with the other Junes. Don't get me wrong, they are cult classics. But this is something that's going to be, I feel, exceptional, and I'm really looking forward to June. So, but yeah, look, with that, but at the same time, you've got Rise of Skywalker going on. You've got something like The Mandalorian that's come out and showing what can be done with the right team, planning it out, mapping it out the way it is. And yes, TV gives them a little bit more leeway within certain things, but you've got someone like Favreau, who's come from the Marvel universe. You've got Filoni coming into live action, who knows Star Wars lore, and that is a reflection. And those things in the show are a bit of there's George Lucas in there, and you can feel that George Lucas, but Taika Waititi. Sorry, I don't know if I get his name right. That final episode of The Mandalorian is Star Wars. So much emotional, action, comedic. It had everything. And, of course, the final shot of the Darksaber was for a nerd, a Star Wars nerd geek, was just unbelievable. For the everyday viewer, they were like, oh, what's that saber? And you'll be like, well, you don't know the Darksaber? But it just shows what can be done when you have a group of individuals that map out a story. And they mapped it out particularly well. And, of course, Baby Yoda, as people call him, or the child as he's officially known,
it's a clone.
A stroke of genius. Absolute stroke of genius. Who
it's
would have
a clone.
thought that something, like, as an infant, even though he's 50, is the star of the show?
I think it's a clone. What do you reckon?
But, yeah, look, I think it is. Being that the fact that the medical officer with the client is wearing a Camino medical uniform, is either it's a clone or they're going to try and clone it. The fact that Moff Gideon has the Darksaber means he's either been on Mandalore, he's battled Bo-Katan, because Bo-Katan at the end of Rebels is the one that has the Darksaber. So is there a chance we might get a flashback with Katie Sackhoff playing a live-action Bo-Katan? You know, can we see Sabine Wren in live action? So there's a lot of questions there, and I think this is where Clone Wars stuff is going to, and Rebel stuff is going to integrate into live action. And we know that with, well, it hasn't been officially announced, but with Rosario Dawson.
Ahsoka Tano! Say it with me, folks.
There's Ahsoka Tano, yes. Look, until Lucasfilm come out and they do a black and white still and say, we're proud to announce that Rosario Dawson is indeed playing Ahsoka Tano, I'm going to hold my breath, but it sounds like it's pretty official. Michael Biehn from Kyle Reese from Terminator. Latest rumor I know was on Making Star Wars Net was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, and there's one more.
I'm forgetting someone. Who am I
Yeah,
forgetting?
are you ready for it? My name's Jake the Mus. You'll find me down the pub. I'll see you down there.
Oh yeah, Samira. Yes.
Yeah!
If we get, it'd be good to get Rexy in.
It's gonna be crusty old guy by then, but Tim can do it.
I think that's what they'll be mapping out. You know, they have finished filming season 2, so you know we're going to be waiting a bit to see this, and who knows with everything that's going on in the world, in the universe, it could be delayed or fast tracked to get it out there to people. So
you know what? I have a thought. Now we have Apollo Creed in this. Could we be seeing? Now we know he's going to go. He's already in the Marvel universe. Could we see? I'm down here with my blaster. Hey, Mando. Hey.
You know what? I think it'd be cool if it was Dolph Lundgren and he killed the character. and the line he says, if he dies, he dies. You know, that would be great, wouldn't it? I don't want Grief Karga to die, but that would be cool if it was Dolph Lundgren who did it. And
then you turn another corner and you see, if it bleeds, kill it.
Yeah, Arnold comes
they've got to do it. Eventually, Arnold will be in this. He will, because he's doing every odd job known to man. I mean, look at the guy. He's so bored. He's got a donkey in his house right now. Seen that? Hey, look, I'm feeding my donkey. Here's some cornflakes. Donkey now. Come on. Eat, clean up your bowl. What you doing? Come on. You know, like it's... That was crazy. They're all reality stars now. I mean, look at Van Damme. Van Damme's got his own... And he goes, we tried this. He's doing his thing. You know, it's crazy. They're all doing it. Frank Stallone's another one. He's got his own documentary now.
It's crazy with everything that's happened in the world. Everyone's going to social media to entertain the world, and it's been intriguing. Just to show us some Star Wars. I'd like more Star Wars stuff. That'd be cool if we could get, so them to come out and do little skits or something. That would be great. Or little teasers of what's happening. I guess that's what I miss too. Is the Lucas era of the prequels with filming. They had the blurred photos,
the select series,
a webisode or something like that. We never really got that. Everything was so under lock and key. And even though, yes, with the prequels, we sort of knew where it had to head, there was still a lot of secrets to be held on those films. And, but George, interacted with the fans a lot and allowed that to happen through the website with the webisodes and the making ofs. And we didn't really get that with the sequels. We got the odd with Ryan. I know, especially we got a lot of behind the scenes black and white photos, which was really nice. But with these films, everything's like hush, 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 and secret. And I understand that you don't want to spoil it for the fans. You want them to experience it the first time in the theater. But man, you got to connect with the people that matter the most, and they've got to remember too that Star Wars is global. It's not just for the US people.
Hi, this is Gareth Edwards, director of the best standalone Star Wars film since Caravan of Courage, called Rogue One. You're listening to Fantha Tracks. Enjoy.
Like when they did the digital release of The Rise of Skywalker, they dropped it early so people could watch it because of self-isolation. America got it, but the other 90% of the world didn't get it until the day it was meant to be released. It's like, well, hang on, no. You realise that we've got COVID-19 here in Australia, and there's COVID-19 in England, and there's COVID-19 there and there and there and there.
Global.
You got to look after your global community, and that's and it's the same with merchandise and stock. You've got to be fair, and I think once again that's where the international market has hit a low for them because they're not looking after the other 90% of the world, and when it comes to Star Wars, and that once again is an issue. It's nice that it's there in the US, but remember, there's the rest of the world that you've got to look after as well, and don't forget those fans.
Well, 100%, you've nailed it. I mean, one of the biggest things is it is a global market, and you see, this the thing is, I don't think they've realised a lot of that, not just with that market part of it too, but also looking at getting those theme parks happening, whether it's down our way. I think there's obviously one in France. I think is one in China now as well. I think they were looking at
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, that's right. Yeah.
You got in Hong Kong, Japan, France.
Yeah. I mean, surely they could do one down here or in New Zealand, one of the two. I mean, I would be definitely looking at this Australasian market. The thing is, folks, other franchises have caught on to that. So, the likes of Star Trek. Now, Star Trek obviously hitting out the gate with Discovery, which has brought them a whole heap of new fans. Some old fans have moved on as well with this too, unfortunately. But it's definitely been accessible. And that's the thing. A lot of the merchandise along with it, very accessible market, whether it's on streaming, DVD, Blu-ray. I don't know if they're doing 4K, but anyway. But they're definitely hitting those markets, right? But then you've also got now Picard, which has gone out. I actually really enjoyed it. I loved it. And then, they're really looking at those older markets too. What can we do to, look at, the fans were there to begin with. You've got new fans, and no doubt with new product brings on new fans as well. And that's always true of everything, whether it's that, Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, you name it. I mean, all of those great, Marvel, obviously, always bringing news. Yeah, that's what's interesting, folks, because with that, you've got a lot of older franchises coming back. Battlestar Galactica is coming back very, very soon with a series set in the reimagined universe of 2003 and 4. That is definitely going to be very popular. That was hugely popular. Obviously, we haven't had a live-action Star Wars compete with it. It'd be interesting to see how that goes because they're both TV shows, right? So you got that coming on. You have June, which is going to be a double hitter. You've got this movie plus another one. So it's the Frank Herbert book split into 2 films. In between that, you've got an entire TV show. So it's, I think, a 10-episode season or something like that, though rumored. But that's going to be huge because, again, this is different. It's a different style of sci-fi. It's darker, more adult. This is a mature Star Wars, without a doubt. Let's not beat around the bush. It's going to still be space opera, but this is the one that was pilfered by, of course, George Lucas and many others. And let's not just say George, but George going, it's a sand planet. That's great. And then, of course, he went, look, it's a sandworm. They're cool, huh? And, of course, if you watch A New Hope, there is the skeleton of what looks like, they call it I don't know if it's meant to be a crate dragon or whatever it was, but it's
crate dragon.
It's probably out there. Moisture evaporators. Hello, June's all about water.
That's all we have time for here tonight on the show. I'm Adam O'Brien. We'll catch you next time on the Fantha from Down Under. Stay tuned to FanthaTracks.com for all your Star Wars news in a single file. May the Force be with you.
Roll it again.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.